Blog Talk Radio.
It's a new thing that's sweeping the land when you don't know which way to go. The answer is Jesus and Elevation Radio.
God bless you. This is Elevation Radio 1, and I'm your host, Pastor Steve, the Music Man Turner, and we thank you for taking the journey with us. This is the program that spotlights positive people doing positive work while serving a positive God whose name is Jesus, and there's nothing sweeter than that. This program is dedicated to the memory of my co-host and founder, First Lady Leora Turner. We thank you for her patronage and her life. Our subject matter today is an interview with Agent X. Oh, I said it. An interview with Agent X. And let me throw in there an Agent Y. Are there duplicate agencies in the federal government? And before we get into that, see the lines lighting up. Oh, my goodness. Someone's calling from D.C. This could be trouble. Proverbs Chapter 19, verse 15 says, intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge. And in the shadowy world of U.S. government, with numerous federal agencies, and the count is disparaging. Sometimes they say 18 agencies, sometimes they say 15. In the intelligence community alone, inter-departmental and overlapping duties abound. Could there actually be duplicate federal agencies that we are unaware of? Oh, my. Recent USA Today article by Mr. Travis Covey says that there are numerous agencies. As a matter of fact, it says actually you can have 10 agencies doing the same job. And that's by Gregory Corte. That's what it says here. So I just want to get into this scenario. Phones are lighting up. Let's go right to Agent X. And if you have an opinion, this tape will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3. No, call in 1-914-205-5353. That's 1-914-205-5353. That was a segment from Mission Impossible. Let's go right to Agent X. Agent X, how are you?
Pastor, Dr., Minister Stephen Turner, Agent X, is doing wonderful. Thank you for inviting me on the show today. And I just want to acknowledge the founder, the beautiful Queen Leora Turner, that this show is in memory of, or is dedicated to.
Thank you, Agent X. And so maybe somebody might be saying, why does she call herself Agent X?
Well, she's calling herself Agent X because of the information that we're talking about today. And that is, does the government have dual agency? And
is this top secret? Is this top classified?
Yeah.
Oh,
say that again. It's top secret and classified. Is that what I heard you say?
That's what you just said. Lord help us today.
It's top secret and classified. Is that what I heard you say?
That's,
our conversation today.
Yeah, that's what I said. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, some folks have not thought about this aspect that there are possibly duplicate agencies in the federal government. Or should I say, there's an agency and then there's a secret agency. Why don't you tell us more?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing that you said.
Okay, let me try it again. I said that there are agencies that we know about, and then there are duplicate or mirror agencies that we were not aware of. Why don't you tell us more?
Yes. So I wanted to talk about the Census Bureau, and we know we went through a national census last year, was it last year, 2020, we went through a national census, and I was part of that process. And it was the first time that I engaged that process. And so when we were complete, my supervisor asked me would I like to continue working for the census. And I thought the census job was temporary. Like they say it's temporary. It's every 10 years they take a count. And she said, in between those 10 years, there's always work to do because they're surveying the population on many different things, everything from like research to taking surveys for businesses and all types of data that they gather. And so she gave me someone's number to call to apply to continue to work for the census. And when I called this individual, they asked me a few questions and then said I would need to apply. And so I said, okay, where do I go to apply? Where do I go on the internet to apply or download the application? He said, oh no, I have to mail it to you, so I need your address. And I was like, you need to mail me a paper application? Yes. And he told me I would need to get fingerprinted. And I had just gotten fingerprinted for the census, and we did electronic fingerprints. But he told me I would need to go to a police station and manually have them take my fingerprint and mail that in. And so I couldn't understand that. I thought that was really strange. I'm like, why wouldn't you all have my information? I just took my fingerprints. I just sent that in just months ago. And then he explained to me, he said, I didn't know. I worked for the census for so many years. I didn't know until I started working here that this is the U.S. Census, but they operate on two completely different systems. As a matter of fact, their systems don't even communicate. And so I found that really odd. So I said, so what is this, like two businesses operating underneath the same name? He said, well, it's not, they're not businesses because it's government agencies, but you can liken it to that. And so they have a completely separate hiring agents. People there work, they're full-time jobs. The same time hire thousands of people. And I was just astonished. He told me he was just as astonished when he found out years ago, and it was because when he was applying, someone took the time to share with him what he was sharing with me. And I remember going on the internet and looking up something, and I actually thought I came across some information with regards to that. But recently, when I went back to look, I couldn't find anything explaining why there are two censuses, essentially, two different people operating, two different groups of people within the government operating under the same name, the exact same address, but they literally do not have anything to do with each other. They do not communicate. They don't share. He told me that they don't share accounting records, right? They don't even share fingerprints, and everything that they do is manual, which I found to be very strange with today and the level of technology that we have.
This is very unusual. That's one thing to have, government duplication of having, like the article said, where you have 10 agencies doing the same job. This is a little different. This kind of suggests that this is like the Cold War or the counter spy stuff. So where's your identity going? And is this a mock agency designed to do something nefarious? Interesting. Let's go to Agent Y. Agent Y, you there?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, I'll tell you, and I hear what you're saying. And when this information was disclosed to me, me having an analytical mind, I'm always trying to think, like, why would this happen? And I have to agree with you. I don't see the purpose or intent to have two Census Bureau agencies functioning under the same name, but totally have their own separate systems. That does not make sense to me. And I'll say this: I used to work for the state government, and they function somewhat under the same format, hiring people or additional people to do the same job. So you can sometimes hire 3, 4, 5 people to do the same job, which I could not figure that out for the life of me. Why would you need that many people? And this was in the state government. So I couldn't figure out why would you need that many people doing the same job. And the conclusion I saw is that they just wanted additional people working, their family, their friends, their relatives, and they had to find something for them to do. So they would constantly create positions that actually didn't exist, but they would just create it and make it up and give it a salary. And so I noticed that with the state government. So I'm looking at the federal government and two census bureaus. That's really, if I were to say government waste, that would be your literal government waste.
Now, I try not to get in any trouble, and I'm going to go to this phone call, area code 202-718, but I have to say something here. It sounds to me, because of my law enforcement mind, it sounds like money laundering. Let's go right to the line. Okay.
Greetings and blessings. Greetings and blessings, family.
Is this another agent?
This is the Queen Jennifer, Jalencia Muhammad.
Okay. Well, we're not mentioning any other names because we have these agents on the line. So, what do you want to contribute, Queen Jennifer?
Well, I guess I've already mentioned my name, but I'm coming to spread love, light, and healing to you, Brother King, Pastor Steve, as your beloved queen has left a great legacy of love and honor with the queens of this planet, and a great honor and legacy to your life. I hear my mentor on the line, and I hear my campaign manager on the line. I'm here to support you.
Agent X, Agent Y.
Yes, and all of your exploits and all the things that you do to lift up others. So I'm just here to lift up my love and support to the three of you all. You are the wind beneath my wings, and I just want the world to know that I'm walking lockstep with you all as we make a change upon the planet.
Well, that sounds fantastic, and we are very blessed. Hang on for a second. Let me get into this situation here. These agencies that are that you're talking about, Agent X, I don't know if all of them are listed in the U.S. government manual. It says here that according to the Merit System Protection Board, protects non-union federal employees. The duplicate federal agencies receive funding. There's been another article by Lisa Solary. There are sub-departments and organizational, actual organizational groups that fall under, that are not listed in the federal government, which is very complicated.
That sounds like Black Ops.
Yeah,
funding
so
Black Ops project.
It's something. So the question is, where is your identity going? I mean, I thought the purpose of U.S. Census Bureau was to right the wrongs of having people not being counted and being fair and listing folks. But I think also sometimes they don't always do that. And the history of the government doesn't always count black and brown. Is that right?
Yes, this is Agent X. So it's interesting because in my research, I literally went to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I just remembered that I had been in, I believe it was Rockville, and somewhere where I parked, I looked up and I saw that building, and I was surprised. I'm like, oh, I never heard of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. What is that? So a few days ago, I went to look it up. It's BIA.gov, and it was very interesting, the information that they had on there. And on that page, I saw where they made reference to the census. And so I clicked on the link, and they something called the DAWES, DAWES, commission rolls, and that's where they counted the so-called quote-unquote Indians, right? And this one was called the final DAWES commission roll, and it literally listed like the name, the first and last name of the person, their age, the census card number, what tribe, federally recognized tribe they belong to, and how much Indian blood did they have. But the thing that caught my attention about that was that on there it talked about Indians and freedmen. So in D.C. there's a hospital called Howard University, but before it was called Howard, it was called Freedmen's Hospital. I always thought that was referring to freed slaves. That hospital was for freed slaves. But going through this information, I'm discovering that the people that they classified as Indian were of different nations indigenous to this land. If you look at them, they would be black people. We would say that they're black people, but they're black people from all different countries in Africa and all across the world. But wherever you go, you can recognize that these are black people. So they were classifying people according to Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, these different names that the federal government recognized. On there, they had some spaces where some people were removed from the roll. Now, when you look a little further in the data, what you see is that the people that at one point were classified as Indian, then they were given these the ones who they did not classify as Choctaw or these 5 federally recognized, Cherokee and all of those 5 federally recognized tribes. They classified them first, I believe, as freedmen. Then freedmen turned to Negro. Negro turned to African American. I also saw where the U.S. Congress commissioned Freedmen's Bank. And when you go and look it up in Britannica, the Encyclopedia Britannica online, it shows that this was commissioned for freed slaves so that they would have a safe place to put their money. But I also saw, not in Britannica, I saw somewhere else, documents that had the bank, the Freedmen's Bank, and it was like an application of the individual who was putting money in the bank. And on this particular one, the classification, the race classification of the person was white. So there's a lot of shady things that are going on. They would have us believe that when it comes to slavery, and don't really hear them talking about freedmen. I just see that name, know that it was a bank. There were there was also a bureau of freedmen or Freedmen's Bureau, a government agency as well. But we may think that this had to do with freed slaves, and then freed slaves are black people that came from Africa. But when you go back and you look in the records, you see that before they got very detailed and very slick with their wording, you can see who it was and their pictures in a lot of these cases to accompany. And so you can see that it was black people. When they talk about indigenous people to America and Native Americans, they're actually talking about black people, but they don't want us to know that. They don't want us to know that. They dispossessed us of the land. They relocated so many thousands of people, and I'm not just talking about to the reservations. They took a whole tribe from down south somewhere and moved these people to Antigua in the Caribbean. So I believe there are things that are in the census that if you do the research, you'll begin to see, oh, this is why every time our people try to get ahead in some type of way, it's like the system is always putting up some type of barrier. They don't want us to know. You know, people say, oh, I have Indian in my family, or I'm mixed with Indian. Well, they weren't even Indian. They were Cherokee, Choctaw, Blackfeet, whatever they called themselves, whatever language they spoke. The other thing that I saw in the census was that though a lot of those people that they classified as Indian initially, they didn't even have their traditional names. They had European names. And when I began to look, sometimes it was someone in the clerk of the court office that was changing names. They have records of some people changing names, and other times the people themselves, because of the pressure of the Europeans coming and starting to dominate and to take the land, and the violence that they perpetrated against them and their tribes, they did not want to classify themselves or publicly claim to be of that of the tribe that they were, and it was for the safety of themselves to be able to keep their land. And so I think there's a lot that if we begin to look into just the census, which we thought was just, or at least I did, just taking an accurate count of the people that are in our country, right? Not realizing that there's so much more behind it, so much so that they actually had a link to the National Archives. And the National Archives put up a type of warning saying that some of the language, because the way they described our people is so offensive, they give this whole long explanation about the offensiveness of how they talked about our people. And then said, you know, well, we want to keep an accurate record, but we're just letting you know that, you know, back in the day, values were different then. So there's
well, as just to add on to that, even today they do not keep accurate census records, and the reason being is Agent X and several other census workers, 5, 6, 7, 8 workers sent to the same house. So you can tell there's no accuracy there at all. Whereas a lot of them was going to the same house over and over and over and over again. And so there's no accuracy in the census, but there would be thousands of people in that same area that never got a census visit. So that's telling you that information is not accurate at all, zero. So even what Agent X is talking about happened a while ago is actually still happening today. So.
Okay, all right. Very heavy information, very heavy revelation. If you are amazed by this, then call in at 1914-205-5353. That's 1914-205-5353. Elevation Radio 1, always on the cutting edge. Listen, can we trust government? Can we trust the federal government? Well, let's see here. Is this sounding too far-fetched for you? Well, how about this true fact? In the 1950s, the CIA used LSD and hypnosis to try to control people's minds. My goodness.
Oh, wow.
Area 51 still exists today, and no one knows what's going on there. Have you ever heard of Track 61?
No.
No.
Okay. All right, Track 61, and you should know about it because you're two government agents, is a secret train set up by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt to keep people from seeing that he was disabled. So he actually had a train built and a railroad track built underground so he could travel to New York.
All the way from D.C. to New York?
Yes, Agent X. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
That is.
Okay, so
I knew about the train station underneath the Capitol, but not from here to New York. No, I didn't.
And would you believe this? Because it was plenty more of this information that I just had to stop because it just blew my mind. That the CIA was actually believed that they could train domestic cats to spy on the Russians.
Wow.
That one for you.
Wow.
Okay. 1914-205-5353. Isn't it amazing what your government is doing? So now I just have to throw in there, do you really trust them to give you a vaccine? No.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. And so we have, what's your take on all this, Agent Y?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. When looking at, and I'm going to say, I worked for the government for many years, and I'm going to be straight out honest with you, I wouldn't trust the government if you tried to make me. Because I've seen too much. I've seen too much finagling of the system. I've seen too much making up false jobs and positions to get family, friends, and relatives in the agency. I just see so much that there's nothing anybody could tell me that would make me have confidence in the government like that, because I see too much finagling of the numbers. So I just have to state my case is that I wouldn't trust the government, because I don't see the reason with all the finagling of the system why would all of a sudden one day they want to turn around and be honest. So I don't that's the way I have to go on that. I can't say that. I trust the government.
It's not a history of that. You ever heard anything called the DMI?
Oh, what's that?
Okay. You got a clue, Agent X?
I've never heard of it.
That's the Director of National Intelligence, which oversees all 15 or 17 or 18, I can't even get that straight, agencies that make up the intelligence community.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so this is according to the Los Angeles Times. Mm-hmm. So there are shadowy worlds abounding here in the land of the red, white, and blue.
You know, it's interesting. We're going back to the numbers. Agent Y said they finagled the numbers. Census has everything to do with counting. Now, we know that in the cities across the United States, that's where the black population supposedly are greatest, right? They're Democrat-run, and it's very easy for the Democrats to win in those places because of the concentration of African Americans. So in these other so-called southern states, if the numbers were actually accurate, why would they need voter suppression?
Exactly.
Right? Why would they need that? I mean, they literally they literally build prisons in those states because the white population is so diluted, and then they count those people as like residents of those states and get representation based on that, even though they can't vote. Well, maybe in some places they can now. I don't know about that, but the level of voter suppression would not be there if black people in this country were 11% of the population.
Right.
Okay, that's just ridiculous. The numbers just don't make sense. They don't make sense. And so there is a story that they're telling that is clearly not true. Even going out to the people and telling them that they're, please do the census because it will determine, how your roads get fixed, right. Money is allocated, but your place has looked the same for the past 30 years.
Yes, exactly.
Now, hold on a second. So are you saying that's one of the great lies? This is the same lie you have, at least here in Maryland, where if you give money for the lottery, it'll help the school.
Greatest lies. Yeah.
Yeah. What schools has it helped? What schools look better? Are these children still going to school with broken air conditioners or no heat schools during the winter? What schools are receiving that?
It helped the CEO to get a $400,000 salary. Oh, I'm sorry. 1914-205-5353. The system of government is broken, and from federal to state to especially here in Baltimore. Oh my God. Wait a minute, we're talking about duplicate agencies and things of this nature. Now, what agent, DPW, is supposed to be monitoring the water so you don't have E. coli and other dangerous biochemicals in the water? Do we need to create another agency to help them because they can't seem to do the job correctly? Do we need a duplicate alter ego mayor because the one we have is just not good? He don't know nothing. He's never responsible for nothing. He takes no accountability for nothing. I mean, just saying. Is he duplicate? Is that a clone? Am I looking at a clone that's on 545?
I'll tell you with DPW, the water situation, but remember, a lot of those people were caught finagling the numbers, fudging the numbers, claiming they were working overtime. They weren't working 4 hours but claiming 8 hours. So they have a whole history of crookedness. Now, me, personally, I don't think people change overnight. I really don't. I think that's a systematic pattern, but the question is they've been allowed to get away with it so long that when they finally do get caught, oh, my gosh, it's big news, but actually it's not big news. Reason being is the people know they've been doing it for the longest. Now, the answer to that solution is you have to come down on them very hard because those laws on the books, if you cheat, if you steal, you go to jail. Unfortunately, these people are not looking at jail time. They're virtually not looking at anything because the powers that be let them get away with it. If you have a system like that, you actually don't have a system. If you have people that can finagle the law and fudge the law and overlook the law and commit these crimes and not be punished, you actually don't even have a system. So now we need a system in place and somebody that's going to uphold that system because there's a lot of rules the police break. But some people say, well, they need to be retrained. No, they don't. The system is there. The rules are there. But if whoever's in charge let them get away with doing wrong, they're just going to have a field day with it. My thing is, no, you have to punish them then and now. If you wait, say, we'll give you a break, we'll give you a chance. So, no, DPW could turn around instantly if you start putting them in jail. You put them in jail for their crimes, they will turn around instantly. These crooked politicians, If you turn around and start putting them in jail for their crimes, they will change instantly. The problem is the powers that be don't want to bring no charges against the people. Thus and therefore, you still have the perpetration of crimes, stealing, theft from people that's working for the government, working for the state, working for the city agencies, and they get away with it all the time. So you don't need to make a duplicate agency. You need to punish the people that's doing wrong with the agencies and the laws and rules we have in place now.
Agent Y, you're a tough man. I can see that criminals watch out for criminals, and so street thugs and the street gangs and the squeegee boys, and the reason why your mayor and some other weak folks in city council are not doing anything about it, because they share the same methodology. You take the suit off baby Brandon and put a muscle shirt on him, he'll fit right in with the squeegee boys. He's a criminal just like the rest of them. And so I'm not going to mess up. I mean, if you got your thing going over there, as long as you ain't interfering with my thing, I'm going to let you go ahead and slide. But somebody who's worried about justice and integrity and things of this nature and peace for the poor and the seniors and regular citizens, no real mayor, did I say that? No real leader would allow citizens to be beaten and violated and shot and killed and just say, you know, my administration is doing it's the greatest it can, and my plan is. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Shut up! Get him out of there. Pull him out by the top of his head and throw him out. He's trash. We need real leadership. We need real godly leadership to get to where people can enjoy their own city. Now, speaking of that,
exactly.
Speaking of that, so I won't forget, on Monday at 5 p.m., I should go down and check out my Uncle Bill Gooden and cousin Leon Purnell, who will be down there taking it to City Hall about the charging the citizens for natural resources and actually not protecting the natural resources that you're charging for with the water. So meet them down at City Hall as they go down to fight. Add your voice there. My God, speak up. Don't let them just run over you, stomp the life at you. Just tell you we E. coli. You might as well say it wasn't no big deal. You know, let it be in the poor neighborhood. Let it be in the west side of Baltimore. I mean, it ain't an emergency. I mean, I just wonder. I mean, you look black, but maybe you're not, Brandon. Yeah, because that should be the mayor should be out there walking the street to make sure things are going correctly. He should be demanding heads roll. Oh my God!
Right.
It's a state of emergency. Did you contact the governor to ask for a state? And how widespread is this E. coli in the city? And like the lady said, when you drink it, then I'll drink it. Oh my goodness! And so this has been going on a long time because I remember Joan Pratt actually getting off work early at Fox 45, following her as she was a city controller, where she was going to check out her businesses on city time. And they knew police officers have left patrolling and taking company cars down to King's Dominion while we paid for it.
Wow.
It's government waste. It's been going on forever. And it'll never stop unless federal indictments come down. Oops. What do you think about that,
and that's what you got to do.
Well, you have to have the right people. And you know, the other thing is that you have to ask the question. This has been going on for a long time. Why? Right? Why is it? Because it's not just Baltimore, right? Mississippi just had a huge, and still have it, problem with the failure of their water system. And I saw places where the majority black people live, That infrastructure is very bad. They have not maintained it. They know what they need to do to maintain it, right? They maintain it in places where they live, so they know exactly what they need to do. That's what genocide. So it's happening is what they did in Flint, Michigan, and they let those folks get away with it, knowing they knew what they were doing.
They said they poisoned it.
Yeah. So if you have this systematic genocide, that's the only word I could use for it, because you know that if people drink this poisonous water, they will die. That's not a political conversation. That's just plain, simple fact. It is criminal. It is criminal.
Criminal conversation.
So people here in Baltimore, they're looking at you call baby Brandon, but in these other localities, they're railing against their mayors and whoever is their leadership in charge. That crime, the lack of accountability, the purpose, the intentional destruction. That's really what it is. It's the intentional destruction of our lives systematically, right? That's not going to change because it's a federal. If you have a federal government that has shadow agencies that nobody knows about, right? People trying to just live their lives and do the best they can, not even understanding, having time to stop and think that somebody's trying to kill me. Somebody is literally trying to do me harm, right? They're just trying to make it from day to day, week to week, month to month, pay their bills, put food on their table, take care of their kids. But these other guys are in buildings, in offices, in suits, right? Planning the continual destruction of our people, lying continuously on every level about our communities, just destroying our communities. So the right people have to be put in place in the federal government for federal indictments to come down. Right? Without that, nothing is going to be, nothing will change.
Well, can we start with the prosecution and the jailing of a modern-day Benedict Arnold? Donald J. Trump, I don't understand why the government can't put him in under the jail for treasonous acts. He's un-American. He is not a patriot. He's a racist bum. That's what he is. So I don't understand why. If I steal a bag of potato chips, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
What's the point? Two different justice systems. Two different justice systems.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, if looking at the history of the Trump family, actually they've been finagling the government for many, many years. Even when they own their properties in New York City, the federal government have taken them to court many times, and they pretty much won every case against the federal government. Now, the question is how on earth you can win cases against the federal government, and they did. So this finagling of the system they're very familiar with, and they're very familiar with the federal government and the people in charge. Having those two outlines on your side, you can pretty much finagle anything. Because, one, the federal government has went with pretty much every occasion, and they've been sued over property in New York City. They've been sued over so many different things, and they pretty much won every federal case. Now, if you know the federal government that well that you can get away with suing them and winning, yeah, you know them very well. So, obviously, Mr. Trump has a stake in this that I'm pretty sure virtually almost none of us are aware of, because he has done more wrong than any president I've seen in my entire life, in my existence. And you can actually combine them all together, and he still beat them by 10,000 miles. So how in the world, I'm with you, how is he still walking around free as a former president? You know, so, I mean, there's a lot of things at play here where, you know, he must have a big stake or a big hold on people in the federal government. Now, realize the federal government is actually made of people. But, you know, well, I'm going to tell you, if y'all don't know, elections can be bought. So you imagine you spend enough money, you get enough people on your side, you buy the election, you don't really care what nobody say, because why? You bought the election anyway, so what difference does it make? Because you know the people you have on your side, and that's going to go along with you, no matter how much wrong or no matter how much right you do. You got people that's going to go along with the people that are criminals.
Well, let me ask you a question. This is something that maybe somebody learned more learned than us can actually answer at 1-914-205-5353. If you have the popular vote of the general population, why do you need anything from an electoral college?
That's a good question. Well, let me tell you why. It could go either and or. If you got the popular vote and you have the majority of the votes, say for instance, I live in New York State. Let's say New York State carried 10 million votes, right? But you live in Maryland or a smaller state, Delaware or something like that, Rhode Island. But those states combined carry 3 million votes. But I already got 10 million votes out of New York, which you'll have to get a lot of states to catch up with me. So that's one process behind the Electoral College voting. Now, the amazing part would be developing a system that would be fair to everybody. Now, that would be the ingenious person, whoever can do that, because the Electoral College vote is not fair. And I'm going to tell you why real quick, because actually when Al Gore won Florida, back when he was running for president, but President, who was Bush, ended up taking Florida, all the commentators around the country said President Gore had Florida, he had the election sealed, that was it, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, Bush took Florida. So that happens through the Electoral College. But the Electoral College, listen, the Electoral College can say, all right, we're going to put our votes towards this president, one, because he got the most popular votes in the state, or two, they can say, yeah, he got the most popular votes, but we're going to go with this one. The electorates can make that decision. It wouldn't be a fair decision, it wouldn't be an honest decision, but the electorates can make those decisions. And your electorate are your everyday citizens that just walk down the street. All they are is registered voters. We would think the electorates are smart, wise, cunning, educated, this, that. No. Your electorates are just everyday citizens. So when they making a decision, they go on the electoral, they go on the process generally by the most votes gotten in that state. But the electorates can decide, yeah, you got the most votes, but we're going to go with the other person. It's not fair, but they actually have the right to do that.
It sounds like another duplicate system.
You preaching to the choir.
But if you are the minority that lies to the population and holds yourself out as the majority, right? Then you have to put in fail-safe to make sure that you stay in charge.
That's Agent X.
Well, hold on a second. Y'all are starting trouble here. Y'all are starting trouble. I got to go to commercial. You're not going to get me thrown up there. Hold on a second. Pray for me. Listen, if you want to have a voice to speak to the powers that be at City Hall, those little wandering kids that don't know how to lead, go down to City Hall at 5 p.m. on Mondays and speak to Uncle Bill Gooden and Cousin Leon Purnell, and they'll be down there guiding you into challenging how you can be charged with natural resources, and when you get the natural resource, it's not even clear and pure. What's going on? Make sure you get down there at 5 p.m. Also, next Saturday from 9 to 11, the East-West Baltimore Prayer Breakfast at Tanber's Restaurant. It's the 3300 block of St. Paul Street. On the program will be several speakers, including myself. Amazing. And we're here to support the Liquor Bazemore for the 41st District. God bless you. If you're looking for, organ work, organists to play for revivals, anniversaries, prayer breakfasts, things of this nature, you can call 410-302-2737. 410-302-2737. Go to the website, www.ultimatepraise.us, ultimatepraise.us, or www.calltheorganist.info. Still playing God's music for the last 55 years. Good God Almighty. And again, shout out to the memory of my lovely wife, First Lady New York. Oh, we had a powerful homegrown service. Sorry you couldn't make it. However, it will be fully edited and sent to YouTube. So anyone that couldn't make it can honor her life that way. We're back. We're back at Elevation Radio 1. If you'd like to sponsor this program, oh my goodness, that'd be great. You can actually email at elevationradio1@gmail.com, elevationradio1@gmail.com. Also be aware, probably starting next week, that we're reconnecting with our first love, which is DWGN, the Donna Walton Gospel Network has called me back. We're going to be featuring artists of the week all over the country. Oh, it's back. I tell you, it's beautiful. We're back with Agent X and Agent Y. Are you guys related? Are you married or something? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah, that's a top secret information, King brother.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to go there. Okay, no problem. And so, all right. What I tell you, what words of wisdom do you have? Because they're starting to send U.S. Census stuff to emails already, and I thought the census is what got David in trouble in the Old Testament, counting people.
Number of people.
Yeah, he got in trouble.
Yeah. Something like that is really, really. You would have to be inside that organization. To me, now you would have to be inside the organization to figure out how to make them do it right, because obviously they're not doing it right. They're not counting the people. The information they're giving is false information. And like I said, I used to work for the state government. The state government fudged so many numbers. They fudged so many reports. They lied on virtually everything. Now, I said this in meetings, and I said this when I worked for the government, and that's why I'm Agent X, Agent Y now, because I said all this in the meetings. You guys can't be fudging the numbers. You can't be lying on reports. Obviously, I was public enemy number one. But nevertheless, the fact and the truth remains, they lied on so much stuff. And I would not, but I'm telling you, the census are not accurate, is not real, is not true. They're fudging the numbers. They're making up the numbers, and they're actually not going to all these homes as they're telling everybody. Some people have never seen a census person at their house. So, no, they're not going to all these homes. So now the question is, the thing is, you have to be on the inside to have that information and disclose that information. But the question is, who's going to do it if the federal government is the one allowing it to happen? Who are you going to talk to make the change or to disclose information? And the question is, I don't know who you're going to talk to unless you're inside the organization. So that's going to be a fight to be fought.
So there's no internal quality control?
Nope. So that means you have all these same people on the bandwagon to do this, and there's nobody to stand up and actually represent righteousness. And that's the problem we have, because you have so many crooks that where's the righteous aspect of anything? And that's what you got to bring to the table. But you have to have somebody with an iron fist, a hard hand, and don't mind taking people down, and that's what you have to have. Agent X.
That sound like Agent X. You said taking people down.
Well, she's very good at it.
I believe it.
You know what I would say? You ask for wisdom. Question everything. Everything that you took for granted. Question everything. If they have, like I said, if you have a minority that is trying to put themselves out there as a majority, then there are things that they have to do, right? So if they say, okay, we have a census bureau, then they got to act like they're counting people. Mm-hmm. They have to act like they're counting things. Whatever their intention is, it's not whatever that agency and the others, it's not what they've told you. So it's kind of like Catholic Charities here in Baltimore. You know, they act like they're here to help the homeless. And all across the nation and the world, they behave as if they are here to help the homeless, but the homeless are sleeping right outside of their offices. The homeless are actually getting them paid millions of dollars. They're paying for their buildings. They're getting them paid for their salaries while they sleep outside. And so everything, question everything. Nothing is as it appears. Nothing is
I
as
like
it appears.
that. No, exactly. Nothing is as it appears. I'm
it's
telling
a
you.
great deception, and they are collapsing from the inside. And a lot can't stand, right? Mm-hmm. A lot cannot stand. It's not based on anything. There's no foundation. Only truth will stand. Mm-hmm. And so they are imploding all over. They are imploding, and you're going to have more and more of these conversations as they turn in on one another.
The Planned Parenthood is another type of agency that is not for the good of any woman, but especially black women. It is for the destruction of the black race.
Yeah, genocide. Again, genocide is not what they think it is. Margaret Sanger was a eugenist, right? Those people felt that they were defective people and that they should not reproduce.
We're the most intelligent people on the planet. We built the pyramids, and they're still trying to figure out how'd you build the pyramids. You know how old the pyramids are? They're still trying to figure out how did you build the pyramids? How did the structure stand? How did you move the boulders? How did you carve the inside? How did you make the tunnels? How did you make this? How did you make that? They still can't figure all that stuff out.
So they'll say, aliens built it out. We're aliens. Aliens did it. Okay? The aliens are coming back. The aliens did it.
Give credit to everybody but the African American. My mother told me something before she passed on to glory. She said, son, I said, yes. She says, I just want to tell you this, that white people are generally lazy. I said, what do you mean? She says, they'll wait till we build it, and then they'll buy it from you.
Mm-hmm.
Think of FUBU.
You know, I agree with your mother, but I think the flip side to that story is they're actually not only lazy, but they're ignorant. They don't know how to do what you do. They don't know how to do what I do. They don't know anything about fashion. They don't know anything about style. That's what us as black people used to, fashion, style, gold, diamonds. This is what we're used to, but this is something they're not familiar with. So if you're showing them something they're not familiar with, they don't know how to take you. They don't know how to handle it. So it's easier for you to come up with the idea, like on the job, you come up with the idea, but the boss of the company take credit for it. Because why? You worked for me when you came up with that idea. So therefore, it's mine because you worked for me when you came up with that idea. So now I put my name on it. Liar.
It's stealing. It's stealing.
Yes.
It's stealing. That's what it is. It's legalized stealing. Well, any words of we got 19 seconds. Any parting words of wisdom?
Question everything. Nothing is as it appears.
I agree. We got to question everything.
All righty. Well, I'm sure this will be a big hit over at the federal government. Well, truth is what it is, and you say, "Ye shall know the truth, no matter who you are," and that's a commandment. So when you base your whole existence and your political gain and your political savvy and your bank account on lies, then you really hate the truth, don't you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't like the truth, you shouldn't ever listen to Elevation Radio 1, because we serve it up straight without a chaser. And so, again, we thank you. Agent X, thank you so much. You can go back into hiding now. And Agent Y, we appreciate you, sir. You can go back to the Batcave. And we thank you. We'll have to pull you out again when we come up with some other revelation that things that make you go, All right. Thank you, good people. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.